Hello again, and welcome to the Friday vlog. I've got 5 minutes, I reckon, according to my watch, or thereabouts, to sort out the world's ills. And I reckon that's probably going to be a wee bit too much of a challenge for me, given the complexity and variety of them. So instead, what I thought I'd talk about today is really trying to consider the future, if you like, of our society. Where will our civilization end up? And there are two viewpoints that I'd like to consider with you today, if you'll bear with me. And they've both been propounded by very famous writers, one of which is the British writer George Orwell. Orwell is one of my favourite writers. And in his book 1984, which you may well be familiar with, he expounds this nightmarish vision of the future in which society is controlled entirely by a totalitarian dictatorship. Big Brother euphemistically controls what we say. The thought police control what we think. And it's a very bleak, nightmarish vision of the future. And at the very end of the book, without trying to give the plot away to you, it ends with the anti-hero, I guess, Winston Smith, finally learning to love Big Brother. And in that moment, he loses any independence he has left. He loses, if you like, that which makes him human. It's a terribly bleak view which Orwell paints, and yet, let's be honest about it, we may not have the thought police, but we've got the politically correct police. An instance I was reading this morning being, for example, Mother's Day being banned in a school in England on the basis that having a Mother's Day might be offensive to those who do not have mothers. So, you know, the thought police, in a way, perhaps in some embryonic form, are out there, but I don't actually quite buy the Orwellian view of the future. The view that I buy is that expounded by the author Aldous Huxley. And an American writer called Neil Postman basically compared the Orwell and Huxley view in a book which I've talked about before called Amusing Ourselves to Death. And basically Huxley was essentially putting forward a view in Brave New World whereby society becomes in the future endlessly trivialized. The people are kept in check by being diverted away from issues of importance. And I kind of think that's where we are nowadays. I think we live in a multimedia, multi-TV channel, multi-news magazine, multi-internet era in which basically you can spend all day, every day, having your senses assaulted by all kinds of trivial nonsense. And yet it masquerades as news. I mean, let's just take again today, the last sort of 24 hours, in which, for example, as I've written in a previous Tangled Web story, the British scientists will be permitted to mix animal and human embryos on the basis that they can develop some potential therapies which may or may not do people some good in the future. That gets tucked away in about page 13, if you're lucky, of your daily trash newspaper. Meanwhile, on the front cover, you're getting to know all about Shilpa, the Bollywood actress who won recently the Big Brother TV series, and her visit to Parliament, no less, to say thanks to Tony Blair for the support he gave her during her time in the Big Brother household on the reality TV programme of the same. And, you know, you look across the media, there are series of endlessly pointless stories which can entertain us and basically stop us from any consideration of, if you like, the big issues. So again, we had the instance recently where the British media in particular went ape crazy over the Big Brother story on Channel 4, the UK broadcaster, and ignored another Channel 4 programme which talked of the hatred being drummed up by Islamic jihadists and their imam propagandists operating in so-called moderate mosques throughout the UK. And again, it's like we favour the trivial nonsense of reality TV shows because it's a lot of bother to worry about the fact that actually a section of those in the same community as us here might be at war against us. So it's very interesting, I think, to look at how society develops and changes. And because you and I, and it's very natural, we live in the present tense. We live in, if you like, 24-hour cycles. And we have 24-hour news cycles now. So it is very hard at any given time to sit back and understand exactly where society has got to and how it's changed. I think most of us probably, of a certain age anyway, can see the changes that have taken place over maybe the past 20, 30, 40 years. But those changes have happened very slowly. And so as our society, in my view, has decayed and has become trivialized and diverted into areas with no meaning but a huge amount of variety within them, it's hard to understand the damage that's being done. Either way, as Postman says, being amused to death doesn't actually doesn't actually change the result. Society dies. It's just that we're laughing in the latter day version of what the Romans called bread and circuses. Things like the internet are good insofar as they allow, hopefully, the likes of Tangled Web and many other forums to actually debate matters of substance, which you, dear reader, by very virtue of the fact that you're listening to this, like to do. I wish more people did do it, because at the end of the day, I would prefer that neither Aldous Huxley nor George Orwell was right, and that somehow our society can renew itself and revive itself and actually face up to the things that confront us. So it is for this week anyway. That's my thoughts, and look forward to seeing you again this time next week. Bye.